Recently, I had a discussion with our HBCU Go analysts and reporters about who they thought should be the offensive and defensive players of the year. Here's a part of that conversation. All right, so it's time now to talk about our first ever HBCU Go Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year. And we have our analysts and reporters from this year's coverage. Oh, should we start with age or beauty? James, we're going to start with you, buddy. James Hatnot here, along with Steve Weish and Charlie Neal. James, you and I had a chance to work together. Good to see you again. Offensively, let's start there, man. Who are some guys that impressed you? Who did you vote for?
Well, I voted for Jada Byers. I mean, over 2,000 yards this season on the ground. There were times during the year where he was the active leader in rushing as well as active leader in career total yards of anybody in any division. And so that by itself showcases his ability to not only be one of the best running backs in Division II, but also be one of the best backs, best weapons in the entire country. So I chose Jada Byers for some of those reasons.
All right, the pride of the real HU, Steve Weish, you are accustomed to seeing guys who can make it to the next level. Offensively, what impressed you this year? Who did you decide to go with, Steve?
Well, I'm with James. It's Jada Byers. I mean, look, Irv Mulligan was a fantastic, someone I really considered as well. But Jada Byers, you see the 2,000 yards, even in the regular season for the playoffs. He was the number 2 rusher in Division II football. But what really sealed it for me was a game that, the CIAA championship game down in Salem, tight game with Virginia State. And when push came to shove, they gave the ball to Byers and he took over and got them across the goal line, figuratively and literally. So to me, it's got to be Jada Byers.
All right. We saved the Hall of Famer for last. Look at him right there. He is regal. Charlie Neal. Charlie, always good to see you, man. You've seen a lot, Charlie, more than all of us put together. But let's talk about this year. Offensively, what stood out to you? Who had your vote?
Well, of course, Jada Byers stood out among all the running backs at HBCUs. But you cannot dispel the job that Irv Mulligan did at Jackson State University. And also young man Jamari Taylor at North Carolina Central University. It's hard to dispel what Jada Byers did, not only in Division II. And all year long, I pushed for him.
All right, Jada Byers had my vote as well. Let's talk defense now. Steve, we'll jump over to you. Was it somebody in the secondary? Was it a linebacker? Was it a lineman? Who impressed you defensively, Steve?
Oh, we're going to the big bodies up front. And it's got to be Elijah Williams out of Morgan State University. He's somebody, he had 11 sacks, tremendous all-time sack leader at Morgan State University. And we know how many players that they've produced out of there. A legit NFL prospect, can play defensive tackle, can play defensive end. But he's one of those guys who is so disruptive, for Morgan State that he just jumps off the page. He's an in-the-frame type player. I mean, no matter where the ball is, he's in the frame, which goes to show you he loves football and wanting to be around the football. So I think it's Elijah Williams, even though this was a very, very talented lot of players at all 3 levels.
All right, James, on the defensive side, brother, what impressed you? Who impressed you this year?
Yeah, Steve, he talked about the guys up front, but I'm going to have to go with Ckelby Givens down at Southern, because not very often does somebody maybe live up to the hype that they had at the beginning of the year. But Ckelby was the defensive preseason player of the year in the SWAC, and all he did was have 27.5 tackles for loss, and he had 12 sacks. And he's getting double-teamed game in and game out, but he still finds a way to lead the conference again in tackles for loss as well as sacks. And so he is a man amongst boys when he is playing. And so Givens down in Southern gets my vote as a defensive player of the year.
Yep, Givens second in all of FCS in tackles for loss. He had my vote as well. Charlie, the final word goes to you. Defensive player of the year, who gets the nod from the great Charlie Neal?
When you look at the true body of work across the board, I would think it would come down between Ckelby Givens and Andrew Jones, and I'd probably have to go with the Southern University young man, Ckelby Givens.
All right, that's great minds talking about great players for our first ever HBCU Go National Offensive and Defensive Players of the Year.
All great points, but there can only be one of each, Charlie. We kept you waiting long enough at home, so let's just get into it, shall we?
We shall. The HBCU Go Defensive Player of the Year is Ckelby Givens, Southern University. A lot of speed on the edge of that defense. Congratulations.
Yes, and the HBCU Go Offensive Player of the Year with 100% of the vote is Jada Byers.
Jada Byers was just the best offensive player.
He was outstanding and very fun to watch. I know I enjoyed watching him play, and clearly everyone else did too.
All right, so we're going to call it no disappointments in our selections, at least for us. Great choices there, and what a fun year this has been. Looking back at the 2024 football season, Jazz, I don't know where the time went. It was like last week we were in Memphis in the rain, getting to know each other, and this great season unfolded.
Yeah, so much history with these teams, with these universities, and then right here on HBCU Go with the kickoff show, and so much more to come. I'm excited to see what 2025 has in store.